Hello and welcome to another video from Fantasy Football Scouts. Today I'm joined by Neale to discuss the key injury and lineup news from this week's press conferences. Neale, welcome. How are you?
I'm all right, yeah. Yet another different backdrop this week because I've got some workmen in. So if anyone hears any drilling in the background, it's coming from my end.
Okay, that's good. It's good to know. And if hopefully it won't drown us out because it's been an action-packed day of news. There was some expected news and some unexpected news as well. And we're going to start with one of the pieces of unexpected news, and this comes from the Liverpool camp. So we all thought a certain defender was definitely out, was going to be out for weeks, but then comes Klopp. So what's been going on?
Yeah, 12 hours after I sold him, I get the news that he's not even definitely out tomorrow, having initially been ruled out for a month by some journalists. So yeah, this is Trent Alexander-Arnold we're talking about. He was injured in the warm-up last weekend in the Brighton game, but he still played the full 90 minutes, kept a clean sheet. And there was talk afterwards of him playing through the pain barrier, that might be a little problem. Then we got news on Tuesday, I believe it was, that he was going to be ruled out for a fortnight at least, with some media reports saying he's going to be out for a month. Now, interestingly, this didn't actually come from Liverpool themselves. It was reported in every other media publication, including trusted ones, sort of like the Echo or anyone with ties to Liverpool. So he was red flagged in FPL. But this morning, or this afternoon rather, Klopp's just given a press conference and he said he doesn't want to have to close any doors that he doesn't have to. It still sounds that he's a significant doubt. I don't think they'd take any chances on him if he's not 100% fit. But he's not definitely out. And even if he doesn't feature tomorrow, it sounds very much like he'd be back in contention for Gameweek 24.
Well, that is a big shock because I do know people like yourselves who've got him out, and it does look like he'll obviously very much in likely to start Game Week 24. But there are other people that have gone even further. I've been seeing on Twitter. They've got him in over the last weekend, and then they've taken him out, and now I don't know what they're thinking now. They're probably just thinking, stop taking early transfers, and this is why it's so important to wait for this news here. And I must admit, if I did own Trent Alexander-Arnold and had kept him, I'd be breathing a bit of a sigh of relief. Take it on the chin if he misses this game week, but you've got a good asset going forward there. Now they are hosting Palace this weekend. There's been some interesting news in the Palace defence, in goal in particular. So this is for those looking to captain Salah, and there will be very many. Who's he going to be up against?
He won't be up against any of Palace's first two preferred goalkeeping options, who've both been ruled out. So that's Wayne Hennessy and Vicente Guaita. I don't know.
It is Guaita, yes.
They're both out. There's no time frame put on their return. We don't know how long they'll be missing for. So we should see. Hodgson pretty much confirmed this in his press conference. 39-year-old Julian Speroni in goal for Palace, who hasn't played a minute this season. He was. I think you got some stats on him yourself, Joe. But he was involved quite a bit last season. He wasn't the first choice or anything, but he played a handful of games. He's still been around the first team squad. This isn't like a Dave Besant or Peter Shilton or John Burridge situation where they've brought in a veteran as emergency. He's part of the first team squad, but definitely more promising news, I think, for Salah owners.
I think so. It's just, Speroni is, over the years has been a fairly decent goalkeeper. Looking back 2013-14, he got 144 points, 14-15, 115. Obviously, as time marches on, he doesn't play much, doesn't play at all in 2016-17. And just two matches really, 15-16. And last year, he played the equivalent of around about 10 matches. And conceded 14 along the way. And I think some people may have a happy memory of one particular match where he came on and kept a clean sheet and got some bonus as well. But on the whole, he's what you expect from a Palace goalkeeper. Not much, really. And the fact that he's 39, that probably does bode well for Salah. Moving on to Manchester United. They host Brighton. So what's Solskjaer got to say for himself, particularly about some of these injured players that they've been racking up over Christmas?
Yeah, by the way, just before I move on to Man United,
Okay.
I'll just recap Liverpool's other team news because there was talk of the defenders. So, Gomez won't feature, but he's not too far away from a return. Matip, we saw on the bench last weekend, and Klopp said he's had 10 more days of training, so he might get his first start since recovery. And Dejan Lovren, Klopp says the injury isn't as serious as first feared, but it's still a muscle problem, so he won't play tomorrow, but he will likely be back for the Leicester game.
Okay.
So I'll move on seamlessly to Manchester United. Alexis should be back. He's trained all week. He had a hamstring problem that he picked up against Brighton. Against Reading in the FA Cup. It caused him to miss last weekend. But Solskjaer said he's hopeful of him being involved. News elsewhere is pretty, won't affect that many fantasy managers. Small and Araujo are out, and Fellaini's joined them as well on the injury list. But aside from that, it looks like a clean bill of health, because I think we saw Pogba had missed training on Wednesday, but I think that was completely incidental. Nothing to do with injury. I think it was something, possibly a personal issue. I think somebody suggested that his partner was pregnant or something like that. So
I believe that there's been a spate of births amongst the Manchester United camp over Christmas, and they haven't really been publicising it. But there were some pictures this week of Paul Pogba's girlfriend and Paul Pogba going out to a restaurant, and last time people saw her was before Christmas, and she was as you would expect someone who was 9 months pregnant to look. So
paternity leave then.
Yes. So it sounds like he might have had a bit of time off there, but he's back in training.
He's back.
Something slightly more controversial, I think, would be over at West Ham. Now, what on earth is going on about Marko Arnautovic? There will be some people with him on their team thinking, shall I sell him? Is he off to China? What's happening?
Well, by the time this video goes out, something else will have happened. It's firstly, he was given the clean bill of health by Pellegrini in yesterday's press conference. So his fitness isn't a doubt, at least his physical fitness. Whether he's mentally strong enough to feature against Bournemouth, we're not sure, because there's been reports from, I think it was John Cross in the Mirror, who suggested that he might be withdrawn from the squad.
Yes, that's been doing the rounds today. I've got a photo up of that Mirror tweet there. So what's not clear is TalkSport was saying the China deal is on. The Mirror saying it's off.
Yeah.
But irrelevant, we're now getting a number of news outlets saying that he's not in the squad. So I understand the West Ham bus goes a travelling down to Bournemouth this afternoon. So I suspect we'll get some idea there. So if he's not on the bus, then
in fact, just as we speak, Football London, who I follow, Sam Inkersall is quite a reliable source on West Ham. They're reporting that he's been left out of the squad. So we'll keep you posted on that. We'll have something more hopefully by 5 p.m. when the team news article goes out.
Okay, so keep an eye on our tweets, keep an eye on the website, and we'll get the latest on that. But it does sound like if you have Marko Arnautovic, it could be time to say goodbye to him, as he may well be doing himself. Let's move over to Chelsea. So Chelsea, quite a potentially tough game against Arsenal. I have to say the potentially these days with Arsenal. You never know which Arsenal are going to turn up. But have we got some news on what's happening with their strikers as well? Because they might be getting a striker. And of course, if all their strikers are fit, then that may mean that Hazard moves out to the wing as well, which is could be better for his owners.
Yeah, that's a possibility if Higuain comes in, which has been mooted widely in the last couple of days. Sarri was, as you'd expect, non-committal on any kind of transfer activity. There was nothing concrete in those, and he was playing everything with a straight bat. Morata is fit, but Sarri didn't say that he would definitely feature tomorrow. He said it's a selection issue. They've already got Giroud as the sort of backup striker, and it sounds like Hazard's going to start up front again in a central position. because Sarri said that they're away at Arsenal, which he said the defensive phase of the game will be tough. Now, he's previously said that he likes Hazard as a false nine because he gives them an extra defensive bit of protection, they're more solid at the back because of that, as a knock-on effect. So I would fully expect Hazard to feature up front again against Arsenal with the same two, Pedro and Willian, probably playing either side of him. And I think the best that Morata can hope for is a place on the bench.
When Hazard started playing in that role, he was actually getting returns. I think it was against Brighton. But that's really... am I right in thinking that's... I mean, I haven't been a Hazard owner for a while, so I haven't been paying a great deal of attention to his returns as much from a personal point of view. But is it coming to the conclusion that he's less effective as a false nine, as a fantasy asset than he is on the wing?
It possibly. I think we've seen that. Sorry, he said on in his post-match presser last weekend that Hazard doesn't want to stay in the box. He wants to come deep and get the ball, and that Willian and Pedro would benefit from the space in behind, much like Giroud was doing earlier in the season, and where Hazard was benefiting from. Now, the other thing to say is that over the past 3 games where Hazard's flattered us, either they've played Palace, Southampton, and Newcastle, who've basically just set out to spoil Chelsea's attack, to sit back and to frustrate, to not give them any room. I would expect Hazard to get a lot more joy or freedom when they're away at Arsenal and Bournemouth in the next 2 game weeks. So that fixture actually isn't as bad as you might think for Hazard.
Okay, well,
I put on one personally, but I think this could be one of those.
Yeah, no, I wanted to raise that as well, because some people were thinking, some people who don't have Salah were thinking, should I get rid of Hazard for Salah and those types of things. Obviously, Salah's a great option to have. There's no denying that as well. But yeah, that does sound quite logical. And of course, we do know that Hazard has an incredible track record against Bournemouth, and he's not too shabby as well against Arsenal as well. So that would indicate that historically he does benefit in general wherever he plays from teams that allow more space. Now let's have a look at Man City. They've got we had the captaincy video earlier in the week with David, and we came to the conclusion that Man City's trip to Huddersfield is where the goals are at. This is where they're going to be. If we're looking for a team that are going to give another team a good hiding, it's going to be Man City. But we're not sure who's going to play up top. Did Pep give us any hints?
No, he didn't. He said, it was just a classic Guardiola answer. I mean, I don't know what journalists expect when they ask this sort of question, because he's never going to give any kind of team news out. One of the hacks said, is there any problem, a selection dilemma that you've got because of Aguero and Jesus being in fairly good form? He says, I'm going to play one of them or I'm going to play both of them. I don't know.
Brilliant.
So, yeah, absolutely no help whatsoever.
Okay.
He said there will be rotation over the next couple of weeks. They've got the dead rubber of a Carabao Cup match coming up, and then the FA Cup before a midweek game week 24. So there'll be lots of rotation, but we don't know who's going to play this weekend.
So, given kind of recent history, really, one will get around 60 to 70 minutes, one will get around 20 to 30 minutes. That's been the norm. We still don't know which one. You would think Aguero would be the main man, but Jesus' form has been so good this in recent weeks, and it does send a bit of a poor message to a player who is in good form to then get dropped, really, just like that. So he could be thinking along those lines. But once again, we're trying to second guess him. I think it sounds like Sané and Sterling, if you're looking for slightly more reliable options, I say slightly more because we still don't know, but I would think it's the wingers really that we probably should be targeting.
I think so, yeah. I think with Sané especially, I mean, this isn't scaremongering or anything by any stretch, but this could be the last game where you're absolutely convinced he's going to play, because Mendy is nearing a return. He won't feature this weekend, but Pep's mentioned him this morning. He says he's getting a lot closer. He's trained, I think, 3 or 4 times with the team now. So by the time Game Week 24 rolls around, which is in 10 days after Game Week 23, something like that, he might be closer to featuring. And as we know, as we've seen in the past, he tends not to play Mendy and Sané together in the same team. reasons of width on the left flank.
Yeah, I mean I'm a Sane owner, and I'm fully expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
Unless Burton Albion suddenly become Barcelona, Manchester City will be missing a game week coming up soon because of the League Cup final.
Yes. Yeah.
So I think, like many other Sane owners, I think I'm waiting kind of till that time, and I think that could be a perfect time to kind of drop off Sane, especially with that Mendy threat. But for now, let's hope he. It sounds like he'll start this weekend. And maybe the next one or two, but then starting to look a bit iffy. Looking elsewhere, what other team news do we have? Southampton, I understand they might have their striker back, their main striker back.
Yeah, Danny Ings. It sounds very much like he's back in contention. Hasenhüttl said yesterday that it doesn't seem that he cannot play 90 minutes. So he's definitely going to be in the squad. And I think we saw him Wednesday night. That's how he played. We forced extra time by Derby. Played 120 minutes. Hasenhüttl said he's definitely going to freshen up the team this weekend. Home to Everton, who've not got a great defensive record of late. So yeah, I would think. I think I've got him in starting now in the team news section on our site, but I think he's definitely in line to feature because they're not blessed with options up front as we discussed last week. Long's, he's a willing runner, but he's not a goal scorer. And Charlie Austin, Hasenhüttl likes his team to press, and Austin's not really that sort of player.
Young Gallagher as well, but
yeah, he mentioned he got name checked in the post-match press conference. Yes, Sam Gallagher. But yeah, I think Ings is certainly back in contention this weekend.
Okay. Now here's something that I noticed. Marco Silva at Everton, he's been talking about Richarlison. So there's a lot of people with Richarlison wondering, shall we keep him? There's no doubt he's going to start, but did Silva give any hint of where he might start? Not
really. He mentioned that he could play in a variety of positions, most notably up front or on the left wing, and he name dropped his other two options up front, so Tosun and Calvert-Lewin. We don't know this weekend. We're not entirely sure. Everton's not got any injury doubts apart from Jagielka, so he's got a fully fit squad to choose from. They won 2-0 against Bournemouth. They weren't convincing, but Silva might decide to stick to the same team and system for this week. So yeah, not entirely sure where he's going to play, but he's not exactly in form at the moment. I think he's averaging 3 FPL points over the last 6 game weeks. So yeah,
he's I think he's reverting to last season's second half of the season. Still loads of shots, but just can't get them on target. Looks busy enough, and that's the annoying thing if you're an owner. It's hard to judge. Now, speaking of Everton attackers. One's left, but re-emerged somewhere else. Who's that, and where have they gone?
Yeah, beautiful segue. And Umar Niasse has gone to Cardiff, confirmed this morning. He's gone on loan. Now they're in dire need of a striker. They've had Callum Patterson playing up front, out of position, the last God knows how many months. They're also on the brink of signing somebody else, Salah, another Salah.
Ooh.
And I think he's Argentinian, this one.
I would love it if Warnock's been conned. Hey Neale, we've got Salah for you. He's available. Really?
He'll for 15 million. Maybe someone sold him as a George Weah's cousin, Mohamed Salah's cousin. Yeah, he's that's another striker they've been linked with. I'm not entirely sure where that's at the moment. I think they were trying to push it through for midday so that he could be involved against Newcastle tomorrow, but I haven't heard anything more about that. But yeah, Niasse is on board anyway. Okay. Warnock gave his press conference this morning. He says he's not entirely match fit. He's barely featured for Everton this season. So I would think a place on the bench for him tomorrow. But he's one to monitor as a budget striker.
He is. I noticed now he had last season he had 8 goals and 3 assists in the equivalent of around 12 full games. So that's his sub appearances and any starts he could muster. And he was in my team. He was in many people's teams for a while. He was a great third striker for a while. And of course, when he went on loan to Hull, he impressed there as well. This is one I'm monitoring. I'm definitely monitoring this. Let's see how he goes. But as you said, it seems unlikely he'll start this weekend. Before we go, any other news?
Yeah, a couple of noteworthy bits of news. Callum Wilson still struggling with his hamstring injury. I think he's only trained once as of Friday. So they'll be Bournemouth will be assessing him before the game against West Ham. Spurs have just put out a medical bulletin. Actually, we all know Kane's going to be out for the next couple of months, but Sissoko has been quite an important cog in that midfield machine over the past couple of months. He's out for a fortnight as well. And Lucas Moura, well, I think many fantasy managers were looking at, I think he's down to about 6.8 million now. With Kane and Son being unavailable, I think many people thought that Moura might be the spearhead of the attack over the next few weeks. He's still struggling with a knee problem. I think the Spurs said he was beginning on-field rehabilitation, which is a very wordy way of saying he's probably not fully training with the squad. So he sounds like a big doubt for tomorrow.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that's pretty much the headline news anyway.
Just to go back to Spurs as well, who do you think is going to lead the line then? Do we think it's going to be Llorente?
It's hard to say. I mean, Llorente's been overlooked so much in the past, even when Kane's been struggling, or he's and Pochettino's gone to Son as the option or an attack, and that's not an alternative now because he's away at the Asian Cup. We've mentioned before that Dele Alli could potentially be used as the sort of sole central. I wouldn't say a striker because he's not that, but I think we'll definitely see a system change. So I think Spurs have been playing a 4-4-2 diamond over the last month or so. I think we'll definitely see that change to perhaps like a 4-2-3-1 or something, or even wing backs, because they've got little option up top. It's
Lamela perhaps.
Lamela possibly, yeah. I think Lucas Moura would be the natural fit once he's available. But this weekend, I'm not entirely sure.
No. I know if people want to have a look back at our scout cast this week and also the captain video, there was more information there. We had some stats there from FPL Awesomeo, which showed that although Ali didn't play in that central striker or false nine role, historically he's been the one to step up. And see it as his responsibility to score goals. I think he was the highest goal scorer in the matches where Kane was either out or only had a small cameo role over the last couple of seasons. I think he was at 10 goals there, and I think Son was next with 8. So that indicates, I do think Ali is a good pick on this. He was my differential pick on the Scoutcast, and I think he'll be the one. But as you said, it's unlikely he'll have a kind of central role, but don't let that fool you. He might be something designed to allow him to come forward. But yeah, that's definitely something I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this weekend. But for now, Neale, thanks so much for your time, and good luck with the game week.
No problem at all. Good luck to yourself.